Did you know Rise Up was going to be like an American anthem?
No.
Like, did you know it was going to blow up like that? Did it happen too fast for you, or was it?
It was actually super slow. It was actually a really slow.
Really?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, because now it's like so ubiquitous, it just seems like, oh, it just popped and it was everywhere very quickly.
Commercials, the White House, the
Yeah,
Oscars.
yes, a lot of
the
sinking,
subway.
Black Lives Matter. Like it was just, it's been, not, did you say in the subway?
Yeah, it was everywhere, but it's such a beautiful song.
I love that you're like, the subway, you know, traveling, okay, right?
I'm D. Watkins with Salon.com, and today I'll be joined by Oscar-nominated Emmy, Golden Globe Award winner Andra to talk about her new film, Deliverance. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations on the project.
Thank you so much.
I want to get right into it. I would like for you to walk our viewers into the world of this film, because it's being categorized as horror, as thriller, as faith-based. Mm-hmm. Take us into the world.
Yeah, I think, well, thank you for bringing that up. Because I do feel like, obviously we keep hearing that it's a horror film because there are horror aspects to the film, but I think it's actually a really limiting description. And it's actually really made me sort of question like the names of genres when it comes to just movies and music in general. But the film has so many different elements. So it's really not a traditional horror movie. It's really not a classic horror movie. It's a family drama, you know, like where my characters and the women in this movie are dealing with a lot of generational trauma. You know, so the horror aspect is that they're fighting actual physical demons, fighting the devil. It's like a movie about a possession. It's based on a true story. But there's also the internal, like them battling their own internal demons, you know? And so there's that metaphor as well, which make it a family drama. It's a thriller. It's definitely faith-based. We actually watch her come to faith in the film. It's also definitely a horror movie, you know? It's so there's a lot of aspects to the film, and I think for people who don't typically watch horror, they would be remiss to not see it just based off of that label, you know.
And you said something very interesting that I want everyone to notice, that it's a true story.
Yes.
So
yes.
just walk it on set. Were you scared?
I think initially when I was reading the script, I was scared because I wouldn't read it at night. Like after the sun dropped, I'm so serious.
Did you know the story?
I wasn't familiar with the story, so it was all new to me.
I've never heard the story.
So I'm looking at the story, and I'm looking at the script, I'm looking at the story, and she's only done maybe 2 interviews, maybe very, very limited, you know. Definitely mostly kind of keeps herself from the public. And so I'm reading this, I'm soaking up the information about it. And after a while, I realized, I was like, no, this isn't something that at the end of the day, I got working hours, and then I had to put it down. But I was hesitant in the beginning just because, I wasn't because of Lee, but I was hesitant because I am a believer. I do believe in the spirit realm, and I'm a very spiritual person. And so I think I was of the ilk and of the mindset that we're not supposed to touch those things. We're not supposed to talk about them. We're not supposed to. But then I actually kind of felt sort of what I call conviction. That was like, no, actually, if I believe these things are real, then I need to show that like we have authority over these things. That if you're going to be light in the world, then you should be light in dark places. That's where it works best. And so,
evangelical in a way.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it is.
Like
truly.
the power of.
For sure, yeah. Even through the art, you know what I mean? So I thought it was really beautiful for that. And I think people want everything to be clean and perfect all the time, but that's just not the life that we live, you know? And so I love that it shows that in the movie.
This is where I feel like I'm a horrible capitalist. I was thinking yo, so if I buy a house and then I move in and I'm like, yo, and you know, it's possessed and it's like, you're not renting it, so you can't give it back. It's like, how do you put it back on the market?
You're a visionary.
Or
you know what, even better than that, make sure the haunting story goes public so somebody can make a movie out of it, and then you can make some money. Now that's a capitalist right there, okay?
The cast was so impressive. We have, of course, you holding it down, Monique, Glenn Close,
yes.
Caleb McLaughlin, and just a collection of other talented people. Lee Daniels directing.
Yes.
Walk us through a day on set. What was that like? There's a lot of different moving parts. I'm like, yo,
there are so many.
Is Glenn Close black? And I didn't know.
Oh,
I'm like, what's happening?
Child, she was so
Glenny from the block.
And yes, ooh, I'm gonna tell her about that nickname. She's gonna like that. No, she was so locked in. A day on set. So first of all, for me, at least the first day on set, very intimidating, but exciting at the same time. Because I just knew, I'm like, you know, if I'm here and I'm present and I'm working hard, I'm gonna get a lot from these women, right? Glenn Close, icon. Monique, icon. Ingenue Ellis, same. The kids are iconic. Caleb McLaughlin, Stranger Things, Demi Singleton, Anthony Jenkins, Omar Epps. Like, I just knew that if I'm present and I'm here, then I know I'm gonna glean a lot from Lee, and I know I'm gonna glean a lot from them. But a day on set was an emotional roller coaster, for sure. There was a lot of prayer on set for those who wanted to pray. It was also funny as hell. I can't help but to sit here and think, like, all of these women on set, they're such, like, they're thespians, they're great, they're amazing at what they do, and they're legendary, but they're also, like, hella funny and just really cool at the same time. So Glenn, I love her so much. I still call her Ma Glenn, because she has such a youthful, childlike energy to her. You know what I mean? So it was just her energy moving in these spaces, picking up certain things was amazing to watch. Monique is Monique, so ain't no way you're not gonna be laughing all day.
Absolutely.
And you know, it was just, on set was an emotional roller coaster, but it was full of, I have to say, laughs, love, and light. It was the opposite of what you would think for the movie.
You play Ebony. Ebony
Yes.
has an edge.
Yes.
The edge is earned. It's earned.
Yeah,
It comes
for sure.
from addiction, personal setbacks,
Yeah.
a complex relationship with her mom.
Yeah.
What did you have to do emotionally to convey so much pain? Because she was heavy from the first, 10 minutes into the film.
sure.
I'm like, check on Andra. Is she okay?
Yeah, you know what's funny? A friend of mine texted me that. He was like, I just saw the movie. It's amazing. Do me a favor. Go on vacation, please.
Yo.
I was like, okay. No, so it's really, actually, I'm glad you asked that. I really did, from the moment you see her in the film, this is a new start for her, right? She's in a new house, but that does not mean that she's fully healed. You know what I mean? She also realizes the pressure is on. What we don't know in the beginning scene is that the DCS is coming for her children. They're not believing her. She is a single mother. You don't know the relationship that her mother now lives in the house with her, and it is a troubled relationship, so she's facing all this trauma again. So though she is looking forward to this new start, it's about, how do I keep this well of trauma and pain from infiltrating the new life I'm trying to create with my kids? So it's really interesting. I think I had to deal with my own imposter syndrome and my own sort of like, I am not good enough. There's no way I can make this work. And it's a heavy burden to walk into every scenario and every day with that weight on your shoulder. And so for hers, it was exponentially more, because she's a mother of 3 kids, And so there were actually a lot of things within myself that I had to dredge up and face and reconcile. And I'm still, as a result of this, that I had to reconcile in order to play her, So I needed to experience it myself. And I mean, as a Black woman, we have the experiences, but to actually deal with them and face them, I think, because though it's a story of these things, it's really a story of overcoming. So I had to actually face them and go through that process in order to play her properly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had the luxury of knowing that, she's going to experience some things that is going to be inspirational to a lot of people. She made me think of, and this, I don't know why this popped into my head, but poet, the late great Mary Baraka, he has this poem called "Somebody Blow Up America," and he has a line, and I'm gonna butcher it a little bit. Few of us have seen God. Everyone knows the devil, right? And it really, 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 he's talking about Black people in this country in poverty, and she just she made me think of that.
Yeah, wow, I love that.
What does that line mean to you?
I think it just, to me, personally means we have all faced a level of despair that could and should maybe bring most people to hopelessness. You know what I mean? And it really speaks to me about hopelessness. That's what it sounds like to me. And so I think there are a lot of scenarios. I see why maybe this movie brought that up for you. I don't know. I don't know exactly why it related to you, but I think there are a lot of moments in the movie where you will see Ebony and a lot of the characters have to fight through hopelessness, because sometimes it's like,
I know Ebony.
Yeah, for sure,
I know
for sure,
Ebony.
Exactly. So I think that's what it speaks to. We've all sort of dealt with pain, we've dealt with trauma, we've dealt with what felt like a hopeless scenario, and so, but I think I would argue that maybe more of us have seen God than we think, because I think even the ability to fight through it, I think, is actually a godly thing.
My go-to is always grace, right?
Yeah,
so
for
if I'm coming across a person who, if we have an exchange and it's not the most pleasant exchange, I instantly imagine that it's not me. It's, these people, they go through things.
For sure.
They fight through things. You know, the world isn't centered around me.
Yeah,
the world is big.
100%.
The world is
that's
big.
real, yeah.
So my go-to is grace, and I try to encourage like all of my friends, my family members to just fall back and give grace and know that 99.9% of the time it's not you.
Yeah.
Things happen.
And agreed. And I think that also, and it's also not even fully them. You know what I mean? Like I think oftentimes, because if you think about it, most of the time, people aren't waking up every day just saying, hey, I want to be miserable and make other people's lives miserable. You know, it becomes a coping mechanism, I think, for unhealed, pain or just insecurity and fear. You know what I mean? So I think that's great. That's beautiful. Yeah.
How would you tell one of your friends if you were giving them advice on engaging a person that's clearly facing some demons that they're fighting to overcome?
How would I give them advice?
Yeah, how would you tell your friends to engage a person who's going through that?
To engage a person who's going through that.
Who's fighting some demons and they're just trying to...
Though that's a really good question. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind initially, I want to make sure I am thinking through this and answering this thoroughly. I think for me personally, the first thing that I would do is I'm a praying person. Like I'm like an obsessively praying person. I believe in that scripture that says to pray without ceasing. And that does not mean, I'm very clear that it's not that everybody shares the same faith, but in my own, you know what I mean? That's something that I do. So praying before the interaction and then listening, first of all. I think that's a really difficult thing for people, including myself, you know what I mean, to do sometimes, to really listen and hear what it is they're going through. But the reason I pray before that is because I'm always asking God for insight about not just the words that they're saying, but what's actually happening behind. So my thing would be to pray before the interaction, pray with the person if they're willing, and for them if they're not.
Absolutely.
And to also listen to them and to abide with them, you know what I mean, to empathize. I think to really go through something with someone, not necessarily that you have to take on the same characteristics, but to go through something with someone, I think that's grace. I think that's powerful, you know what I mean? And I think maybe we underestimate the journey.
No, I totally agree. And you'd be surprised how different people fight to heal from certain situations that actually strengthens your faith, right?
That's
It
true.
gives you more faith.
True,
I have a cousin that's been sitting in prison for 17 years for a crime he didn't commit. And the other day, we were just having a conversation. He calls me like 5 times a week, and we just talk about different things. But he's been going to this prayer group, and he's just been working his way through it. And he said, "You know why you're always going to be blessed?" I said, "Why?" And he said, "It's like 1 Peter 5 through 6. God resists the proud and gives grace to the humble." I know I might have butchered that too, but
no,
you know what I
do
mean.
it all the time. I always quote it, and I'm like, look it up though, because the words ain't right. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
But he's fought that battle, and it's I hear like a level of peace in his voice that is like powerful. And I'm always thinking about ways to spread that kind of energy. Like how can we spread that kind of energy so people can know. You getting laid off from work, or you having a bad day, or you not getting an award that you felt like you should have got is not as bad as
no,
100%.
Exactly. It's especially not as bad as sitting in prison again for years for a crime you didn't commit. I think that is a really beautiful thing. I think especially in life when we can't change the circumstance. We can try. I always think about that scripture that says that we make plans in our heart, but God orders our steps. When we want to change the circumstances so bad like his and we can't change them so bad, sometimes it is a very powerful thing to change our heart and our perspective and our mind, and so I think that's really powerful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
So the movie is necessary. It's a heavy watch, and I must admit that listening to Cassandra was more easier on my spirit.
Good. Please let it be easier than a demon movie.
The album is such a great album. It's inspiring. It's encompassing for the listener. You are an entertainer. Have you always seen yourself as a performer?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there was never a plan B. When I was young, I would randomly get interested in things and I'd be like, oh, like, I don't know, I was obsessed with paleontology at one point. I was like, I love dinosaurs. I love fossils and bones. I love digging. I'd be in the backyard all the time. Maybe that's what I'll do. You know, and then I was like, maybe I'll be a lawyer, you know what I mean? Because I just was arguing down when I was a child. But that was never, nothing was ever actually real. It was always music for me particularly. I think my only question was really like, because I went to a performing arts school and the focus was musical theater. So it was like Broadway. So it was kind of like, okay, do I do Broadway or do I do recorded music? And that became kind of apparent pretty early on, you know, when I was about like 14, 15, 16. So there was I've always seen myself as a creative, truly, you know what I mean? I've always seen myself as a performer, as an entertainer, and a musician, a singer, you know, it's always been that realm. There's never been anything else. Yeah.
You ever go back and watch things that you've played in before? Like you go back and watch the State versus Billie Holiday, or
No.
and once you make it, it's done. It's over.
Yeah, I think I watched it one time when right the night before it was supposed to release. I don't know why. I had like a crazy case of FOMO, so I was like, oh, let me go watch it. And I watched it with my mom. I cried. I just went through all these different range of emotions I went through. And then I just put it down and I haven't watched it since, you know, because I don't know. Yeah, there is something about, I was at a different period in my life. I've processed that. That's what I needed to do. And now it's for the world to help them process their things, you know. I've listened maybe like a little bit to this album, like different songs and different things, especially because social media forces you to look at
I thought you would revisit the
again.
music more than a film.
Yeah,
maybe.
But even that's not an easy thing for me to do. Yeah, it's very difficult. I have a couple songs that I'm like, oh, maybe this I'll listen to. And again, like I said, social media, when you're promoting the record, you obviously have to listen to it more. But usually I am very much a like, maybe years down the line, I'll, you know what I mean, kind of revisit things. But usually I'm kind of, once it's done, I'm like, cool, that chapter is closed for me. Now it's used to help navigate other chapters for other people, you know.
Did you know Rise Up was going to be like an American anthem?
No.
Like, did you know it was going to blow up like that? Did it happen too fast for you, or was it?
It was actually super slow. It was actually a really slow. Yeah, I think for a lot of people, because now it's like so ubiquitous, it just seems like, oh, it just popped and it was everywhere very quickly. It was not the case. Like, it was kind of a slow burn, you know what I mean?
Really?
Like, yeah. And the truth is, I didn't know it was going to be what it was not even going to be on my album originally.
Commercials, the White House, the Oscars.
Yes, a lot of syncing, Black Lives Matter. Like, it was just, it's been, not, did you say in the subway?
Yeah, it was everywhere, but it's such a beautiful song.
I love that you're like, the subway, you know, traveling. Oh, okay.
Everywhere.
No, that's a blessing. Like, I feel like I did not know that it would be what it has become. You know what I mean? To me, that's the God, that's the Lord. But I wasn't even gonna put it on the original record. Like, I went in with a finished record. And right before we were about to release, they said, we wanna play you a song. And I just remember thinking, no. And they were like, you wrote it. And I said, well, let me listen to it. So they played it for me. And it just did the thing that it seems to often do now, which is it sort of kind of sucked the air out of the room. And it was like, oh.
It does.
So it was really no argument for me. I was like, yeah, no, I agree. This definitely needs to be on the record. But they tried to go, you know, juice it up, put like this crazy beat on it, and then try to do like a DJ beat, and then they try to do an EDM beat to it. And every time the song was just like, I am who I am, you know? And so I did not expect it to be, and I didn't expect the impact to be what it was, like, intrapersonally, because when I tour and I do meet and greets, I've met more people that have contemplated ending their own life. I've met more people that have contemplated and attempted to. I met more people that have struggled with cancer, had lost a family member, had dealt with depression, you know, than I have in my entire life, than I think maybe a lot of people have. But it's always actually been a really uplifting experience. And so I realized, like, oh, I might have thought of success, but I never really thought about impact. And I think God did that, you know.
That major success, did it change you as an artist, or you've always just stuck to what you've been sticking to?
No, I'm like a super diva now. I'm never going back. Just kidding. No. Well, the other part is I have qualms with that. I actually don't mind the term diva. I've discovered in the industry most of the time the term means a woman who is very clear about what she wants and doesn't want. And so I was like, oh yeah, I'm cool with that. But no, I think that it changed my mentality toward success and what success is, you know.
Okay.
And that's why I say when I was young, it was like, I want to do these videos and I want to do these things and da-da-da-da-da. And I loved God, you know what I'm saying? Like I still was a believer, I loved Christ, but it wasn't that type of relationship, you know? And so because that faith has grown and because of all of these things, it's made me more aware of, first it was success, but now I realize how much more successful it is to have impact in the world, to be impactful. Absolutely. And to be intentional about what you do, because you might not make $1 million, but you might change 1 million lives, or you might change one life that can change 1 million lives. So I think that it's just made me much more aware of impact, you know what I mean, and how that is a lot more important than just a sort of monetary success or a fame, or, you know, so it's definitely changed me in that way.
So I'm hearing you want to do sci-fi next. Is anything in the works?
Yeah, well, there's actually nothing in the works right now on the sci-fi, but I do want to do it. No, so there's nothing in the works right now. There are a few things that I'm actually producing. I'm really excited about it. I've started working with Thelma and Jackie Wright out of Philly. Do you know who they are?
No.
She was really incredible. I mean, she was the family. She was one of the biggest drug queenpins out of Philly. She had a very, very quiet operation, and it's a very transformational story. And it really actually is a story about survival and a mother's love. And so I really am excited about her having that opportunity to share her story. And
need more films in Philly.
Yeah, 100%. I actually really love Philly. I love Philly people. So I spent time out there even for this character with like Miss Jade, you know what I mean? And I spent time with Thelma a lot too. And I don't know, I just love the energy out in Philly. I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know, there's a kinship there, you know.
It's a great city.
I like people from Bmore too, absolutely.
Yeah,
there's that Billy connect.
You always got a place pull up on us.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on. Congratulations on the film, the album, and everything else.
Thank you, I appreciate you. God bless you, bro.
Thank you for watching Salon Talks. Be sure to subscribe as we feature some of your favorite artists, authors, and more. And while you're here, you might as well watch another video by clicking right here.